NBC News claims climate change lockdowns are a conspiracy after they championed them in the past. Here's a clip.
How climate lockdowns became the new battleground for conspiracy-driven protest movements.
Conspiracy.
Protesters radicalized by their opposition to COVID lockdowns have a new target: anti-traffic measures. So they're already downplaying what the media themselves were saying over the past several years. There was an article in the New York Times that said
they taught people to believe in like climate change lockdowns, and now that they're like, oh, this is what the media talks about. That's a conspiracy. What are they talking about?
Because of the COVID
Idiots.
lockdowns, the Earth was healing.
Yes. Like that was something that I meant to bring up, is like the fact that like in the beginning of the COVID lockdown, it's like all of the people that are worried about the environment were just like, ooh, rubbing their hands together. Like, this is our shot. If we can get people to lock down, we can save the earth. And I feel like they might have gotten the idea to lock down. And no, actually, I'm not going to say that because they probably had it long before. So that's a bad idea.
Or you think that the two are connected, the climate and the COVID opportunity to lock people down?
No, I think that the idea for a climate lock, I was going to say that, or pontificate that the idea for a climate lockdown might have got started because of COVID, but then I thought about it and they probably had these plans started previous to that. So
yeah,
that's why I didn't want to say it, but that
yeah,
was a bad
I think
idea.
Slowing the rate of carbon dioxide production is okay, but if it's going to destroy or hinder humanity, I think that's the wrong tactic, because we can reuse the carbon dioxide, particularly to turn it into graphene and other materials. Reuse the methane also and turn it into carbon dioxide and graphene.
My problem with those kind of like global scale plans that people have, if they mess up, you're looking at a death toll in the billions.
You mean if they take too much carbon out of the air, they could kill all the trees and murder humanity?
Well, I mean, I don't know for sure, but like, Bill Gates' plan to blot out the sun, that is an actual legit plan that Bill Gates has been talking about. Like, I don't know if they're talking about using something to seed the clouds and make more clouds, or actually putting some kind of filter up there to block out the sun. But he's talked about it and he's serious. I think that's a terrible idea.
Awful.
Blocking the amount of sun that falls on the earth seems like it only has a bajillion and a half ways that it can go wrong and kill people.
Yeah, that's true. But then Bill Gates can control how much sun the earth gets. Why wouldn't Bill Gates want that? He wants to control everything. Farmland, medicine. Why not control how much sun people get?
That's the only way to beat the robots, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you gotta blacken the skies.
Bro.
We don't know if it was us or the robots.
Yeah.
Also, plant life relies heavily on sunlight.
I also think it's interesting because so many of these agendas, whether it's...
Yeah, I think that's really funny. Yeah, let's block out the sun, and then the plants that eat carbon and cool the planet, they won't get as much sunlight, so they won't be as effective. You can tell like the climate change thing and pollutants, getting pollutants out of the atmosphere isn't their goal. You can tell by stuff like that.
Economic Forum or the United Nations, for some reason, they all have seemed to identify the year 2030 as like their end goal,
Agenda
right?
2030,
Agenda
yeah.
2030.
Yeah,
And even the West has their own sort of like iteration of it that also concludes in 2030. China has their 2030 plan too. They also have a 2025 one, but I think it'll be really interesting. And that's why I think this election really is so pivotal, because I think the world, not just America, will take two very different trajectories, right? If you have someone like Donald Trump in office, I would argue that Agenda 2030 is not going to just get, carte blanche, blank sign off by Donald Trump to enforce it. Whereas if you have someone like Joe Biden, who empirically throughout the United Nations and the WHO pandemic treaty, his actions have shown that he's sort of on board with that. And a lot of his advisors are too. I think you will see two very, very different outcomes for the world writ large, depending on who wins this election cycle.
And I really think that even if like someone, and I don't really have I don't really care if it's Donald Trump or someone else, but if it is Donald Trump, like, I don't think that it's like a guarantee that he can navigate us through the coming tumultuous situation of the WEF trying to take over the world. I think that Donald Trump is just a maybe. If we go with a Democrat, it's a definite that we're going to do whatever it is that the international community wants. We lose our sovereignty.
And then if you get a real straight up principled libertarian, it's like guaranteed. It's like Trump is a maybe, libertarian, hell no, and then a liberal Democrat, hell yes. And there has to be a principled libertarian like Dave Smith or someone, not like Gary Johnson or someone like that.
If we elect a Democrat, because they don't they don't push back against the international community. So whatever the international community wants is what the United States does, regardless of what the American people want.
Let me pull this up from Wikipedia just so you understand Agenda 2030. This is from Wikipedia, Sustainable Development Goals from the UN. They say it's their global goals or sustainable development goals are a collection of 17 interlinked objectives designed to serve as a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity.
17 is a magic number, Jim Lindsay says too.
Oh, yeah, for people and the planet now and into the future. They say it was formulated in 2015 by the UN General Assembly as part of the post-2015 development agenda. They say they were formally articulated and adopted in a UNGA resolution called the 2030 Agenda, known colloquially as Agenda 2030. So when you hear people saying this, you're going to get the media saying it's one big conspiracy theory. It's all nonsense. And what they're going to do is
not a conspiracy.
They're going to ignore the actual complaints people have about the mission of the UN, and they'll hyper-focus on some random crackpot in an alley who's screaming that Agenda 2030 is trying to steal moon cheese. And they'll be like, these crazy conspiracy theorists think the earth is flat. And then the average person who's like, hey, this is a bit alarming to me because we're a sovereign nation that shouldn't be giving over our rights to an international body, they will omit that from the news reports.
That's the same type of thing that they did with the whole like Jeffrey Epstein stuff and then the pizza place. Like
and then like the Trump thing too. It's just like, look at these crackpot Trump supporters, and it's like, guy you find out it's not even a Trump supporter.
They use the crazy guy going to the pizza place to deflect from like Epstein actually getting arrested and going and the trial, and him actually being found guilty of human trafficking and stuff. They were using the Pizza Gate stuff to discredit the idea that there were actually and
wasn't that Pizza Gate guy that went and did that? Wasn't he connected to the Fed somehow, if I remember correctly?
Everyone knows that Epstein had been, found guilty of trafficking, that Ghislaine has been found. Yeah, he cut some deal, but
early on, yeah.
But everyone knows that was the situation. Everyone knows that there have been no names released, and yet people still will say things like, "Oh, Pizzagate." You're thinking that it's kind of crazy to think that there are people in the government that are pedophiles. There's multiple court cases that have been found.
Oh no, that's not Joe Biden.
It wasn't like Prince Andrew directly implicated.
Prince Andrew couldn't wear certain clothing at the funeral of the Queen because of his embarrassing the royal family. Like he couldn't wear his official cape or something like that. I think it was military dress. I'm not sure what it was, but there was official stuff that the prince should have been able to wear.
Yeah, it's like ceremonial.
Yeah, but he disgraced them.
Look at this. Goal number 1 is no poverty. That's not possible.
By 2030.
Poverty is relative. A poor person
that's
today
what
has
to say
better
that.
dental care than Rockefeller did 100 years ago, 100 and some odd years ago.
Yep.
So that's like it's an impossible thing to say. Zero hunger. Let's hold on. Let me tell you about.
Supposed to be hungry sometimes.
I know. Right?
Yeah.
Hunger is a good thing.
I intermittent fast. I don't eat for 16 hours a day. It's like I'm hungry during that. It's like whatever.
Tells you that you need to put food in your stomach. Nope. Right. I'm going to approach this from the view of Ultron, the rogue AI that was trying to wipe out humanity. How do you end poverty? They say goal number 1 is to end poverty in all its forms everywhere. It would end poverty globally. One of its indicators is the proportion of population living below the poverty line. Now, you see, these lefties and these corporate journalists or whatever might see that and say, oh, I get it. If they give all the poor people more access and money, they'll be above the poverty line. And then all of the international elites look at each other like, sure. And what they're actually envisioning is the poverty line is the cutoff point where they excise that portion of the population, and then there's no poor people anymore. Then they say zero hunger. Same thing. How do you get rid of hunger? Anyone who's hungry, gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Good health and well-being. Anyone who's not, gotta go. Quality education. Once again, those who are not getting quality education, you got to go.
And wait, before you go on, anyone that says that about getting rid of people that are in good health, look at what Canada's doing now with MAID. Like when you first hear it, you think, oh, it would never happen.
MAID is like euthanasia. They can you just go get them to lethal injection you essentially.
But if you think real quick, oh, wait a minute, it's literally happening in Canada. They are encouraging people that are a burden to the system to kill themselves. This is not far-fetched. This is not imaginary.
It's happening.
This is exactly what a lot of the NGOs want to see happen.
I think I saw recently it's like already 1 to 3% somewhere. Maybe it's like 1% of all deaths in Canada already from this MAID program. It's like, what?
The idea that nations should end and we should be a global community and a global country or whatever you want to call it.
I got to be honest. Like, if you were to look through this, population reduction does seem to be a general path towards accomplishing a lot of these goals.
Absolutely.
Let's think about this. How do you get rid of poverty? Well, if we have mechanization and automation, and you remove a large portion of the population through MAID or whatever, or through even degrowth. Like, this is the thing people need to understand about this. They assume, and the media would want you to assume this, that there's a conspiracy theory where the global elites are going to go around killing people. It's like, okay, well, maybe with medical assistance and dying or in death or whatever up in Canada, you have something like that. But it's really just like, don't have kids, abort your kids, sterilize your kids, take birth control. That's degrowth. That is one way to achieve the goal. It's did you guys ever play?
Yeah, those transgender surgeries. They sterilize you. What a shocker.
Talked about this before. Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, play them all.
I can't remember which one it was, but in the end, one of the endings is, for those that aren't familiar, it's a post-apocalyptic world wiped out by nukes. There's a gigantic, super intelligent mutant being who says, you can choose to, I'll let you go and you can live, but you have to be sterilized so that you can't reproduce anymore because you're old world or something to that
I
effect.
think that's the first one.
Yeah, I think so. So the general idea is, no, you're mistaken. No one wants to reduce population. They just don't want you to have kids. And then in 20, 30 years, population will have been reduced.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about degrowth.
Degrowth is essentially, so the way that the argument goes is our capitalist society depends on infinite growth, right? It has to keep growing because we keep having more people, we have to keep producing, and we live on a finite earth. We live on an earth with a limited amount of resources, and we are going to use them up. So what we need to do is we have to have a net zero impact on the environment. So that means we don't have an impact. Net zero means a totally zero impact on the environment. And you're going to achieve that through degrowth, which means you have to have a contraction of the economies of the countries on the planet. Your GDP is directly related to your life expectancy. Every point of GDP that your country goes down, there is a corresponding number of deaths that happen. So degrowth means population shrinking. And that is intentional. Now it starts off, and I'm looking back to the first half of the 20th century. Eugenics and population control and these types of man controlling society with big plans like they're talking about here, these type of programs will start off with one mandate and one idea, and they grow. And I hate to do this because I don't want people to be like, oh, everyone compares it, but like the stuff that Hitler did to the Jews in Nazi Germany didn't start off with grab them and throw them into the concentration camps. It started with, okay, you got to wear these patches. It starts small. So the idea of we have to do things to contract, the government has to do things to contract, they will start small. And as it doesn't work as fast as they want, and as there are people that will push back, they will continue to up their efforts, and you will end up with, I imagine, billions dead.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast.
Probably, yeah. This whole Agenda 2030 stuff, it's wild. And they sit here and act like they want to do it to help people, but they don't. It's just a goal for the Earth and for climate change and all of this stuff. It was awesome on the debate stage when Vivek Ramaswamy said it's a hoax, and then everyone you could hear the mics, the donor class, they were all booing, like, don't tell anyone this, because like people have mentioned a lot. Where's Greta Thunberg going after China? How come no one? China just upped its coal after COVID, just went ham on coal again. What about India? They're the biggest polluters by far. But nobody cares about that. They just want the U.S. to get rid of their stuff. The U.S. is the most wealthy, so I guess it makes sense. You get rid of the most wealthy country, you lower the economy, the fewer exports, and then you get, less wealthy people, less population. And that's obviously what they're going for. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe for daily news updates, smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and share your thoughts on the story in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.